Amara was a talented 29-year-old fashion designer living in Lagos. After losing both of her parents at a young age, she had no one to rely on except herself. Instead of giving up, she poured all her pain into building the fashion businesses she had always dreamed of owning. Day after day, she worked tirelessly, sketching designs, sewing clothes, and serving customers with a smile. Slowly, her hard work began to pay off. People admired her success. But there was one thing they never stopped asking. When are you getting married? Every Christmas, Amara visited her wealthy grandmother for the annual family gathering. The beautiful mansion was always filled with laughter, delicious food, and relatives from every corner of the country. But before the celebration could even begin, her grandmother would ask the same question. Amara, where is your husband? Each year, the question became harder to answer. The pressure grew heavier. Eventually, Amara made a decision she never imagined she would make. She lied. She told everyone she was engaged. At first, she believed it would only be for one Christmas. Then, another year passed, and another, for 2 whole years. Everyone believed a fiancé existed, but the truth was, there was no boyfriend, no engagement, no wedding plans, only a lie that was becoming impossible to hide. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Her grandmother announced another grand Christmas reunion. Every grandchild was expected to attend, with their husband or wife. Suddenly, Amara's heart sank. This time, there was no excuse. The truth was about to come out. Terrified and completely out of ideas, she rushed to meet her best friend. The moment she sat down, she buried her face in her hands. "I'm finished," she whispered. "If I show up alone, everyone will know I've been lying for 2 years." Her best friend looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "Maybe what you need isn't a real husband." Amara frowned. "What do you mean?" Her friend leaned closer. "Rent one." Amara stared at her in complete disbelief. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then they both burst into laughter. But slowly, the laughter faded because the impossible idea was beginning to sound like the only solution. Amara couldn't believe what she had just heard. "Rent a husband?" she asked, staring at her best friend. Her friend nodded confidently. "It sounds crazy, but desperate times call for desperate measures." Amara laughed at first, but the more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the only way out. After all, what other choice did she have? If she attended the family reunion alone, her grandmother would discover she had been lying for 2 years, and the embarrassment would be unbearable. The next morning, Amara's best friend contacted someone she trusted. A few hours later, she arranged a meeting between Amara and a man named Daniel. Amara arrived at a quiet cafe 10 minutes early. Her hands trembled as she checked the time. She had never imagined her life would lead to this moment. Just then, a tall young man walked through the entrance. He was neatly dressed, confident, polite, and carried himself with quiet dignity. He walked over to her table and smiled. "Are you Amara?" She nodded. "And you must be Daniel." He pulled out a chair and sat down. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Daddy?" Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "Anji, I was told you need someone to pretend to be your husband." Amara almost sank into her seat. Hearing the words out loud made the whole situation feel even stranger. She took a deep breath and explained everything. She told him about losing her parents, building her fashion business, her grandmother's constant pressure to get married, and the lie that had grown bigger every Christmas. Daniel listened carefully without interrupting. When she finished, he remained silent for a few seconds. Then he smiled gently. "I understand." Daniel had his own story, only 6 months earlier. He had worked as a successful civil engineer. Life was going well. Then, the company he worked for suddenly shut down. Overnight, he lost his job. Since then, he had searched everywhere for work, but nothing came. To make matters worse, his elderly mother had fallen seriously ill. The little savings he had were almost gone. Every day became another struggle. Amara looked into his eyes. For the first time, she realized they were both carrying invisible burdens. Neither of them wanted to be in this situation, but life had pushed them there. She finally asked, "So, will you help me?" Daniel thought carefully before answering. Then he quietly nodded. "I will." They agreed on a simple arrangement. Daniel would pretend to be her husband. Only for the Christmas reunion, 3 days, nothing more. They would sleep in separate rooms. There would be no romance, no feelings. And after the reunion, they would go their separate ways forever. They even shook hands on it. Neither of them knew. That handshake would completely change both of their lives. 3 days later, they drove toward her grandmother's magnificent mansion. The closer they got, the faster Amara's heart beat. She was terrified. What if someone recognizes you? What if they ask questions? What if I forget something? Daniel smiled. He gently placed his hand over hers. "Relax. We're a team now." For the first time in days, Amara smiled. As soon as they arrived, the family rushed outside to welcome them. Her grandmother stepped forward. She looked Daniel up and down. Then a warm smile spread across her face. "So, this is the young man who stole my granddaughter's heart." Daniel respectfully bowed his head. "It's an honor to finally meet you, Ma." Grandma immediately liked him. Inside the house, Daniel greeted everyone politely. He helped the elderly carry their bags. He played football with the children. When a dining chair suddenly broke, he quietly repaired it without anyone asking. Even the family cook couldn't stop praising him. One by one, the relatives whispered, Amara chose a wonderful husband. Only one person wasn't convinced, her cousin, Brenda. Brenda watched Daniel carefully. Something didn't feel right. "They're hiding something," she whispered to herself. From that moment, she decided to uncover the truth. She secretly watched every conversation, every smile, every little mistake. She was determined to expose them before Christmas dinner. That evening, Grandma surprised everyone. "I have a little game for all the married couples." Amara froze. Daniel slowly looked at her. Neither of them had expected this. The first question came. "What is your spouse's favorite meal?" Amara panicked. Before she could answer, Daniel smiled. "Jollof rice with grilled chicken." Everyone clapped. Amara blinked in surprise. It was correct. Then Grandma asked Daniel, "What is Amara's biggest dream?" Without hesitation, he answered, "To open fashion stores across Africa." Again, he was right. Amara stared at him in disbelief. She had never told him that.